Welcome back to the competitive speed series.
The absolute carnage on this final lap. 5 red lights here in Miami. Can they regain that place?
I cannot believe my eyes.
Who comes out on top? Down the inside into Casio Triangle. This could end in disaster.
Zach Miles taking the lead. It was an all or nothing approach for the TF10 team.
And this could be crucial for NBR.
A race to remember for Jeremy Gallagher.
And they are officially the champions of the season.
It does not get closer than that. What a race. What a season. Oh, it sorted itself out. What has gone on there? Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for not being able to hear me for about 30 seconds. OBS is having a little bit of a mad one on me. We are back. It is Competitive Speed Series. It is round 4, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. Round 3. I knew it was one or the other. And it is the ever wonderful Brazilian Grand Prix. We've got a great round ahead of us. We've got a lot of things to talk about. But first and foremost, how are we, Frost?
Ready for the holidays, pretty much. I'm even wearing my special Christmas jumper, so to say. So, yeah, I'm all prepared for everything tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice little festive stream. This is our last stream before we have a little bit of a Christmas break. And, well, hopefully it is going to be a lovely last stream for the year. For PC at least, we've still got console tomorrow. We've got 17 drivers in our lobby at the moment. We've got a few bits to talk about between now and when qualifying gets underway. So let's get straight on into that, because last time out we had a very chaotic and a very different race, and it saw TTM take the win. A real bounce back from them. They went from 10th in the standings to 3rd in the standings. I suppose maybe that's because it's so early in the season, but a phenomenal result for them and a lot of places gained.
Yeah, and now them being 3rd in the standings, I have a 39-point gap from the top of my head to the top of the leaderboard. The top of the leaderboard, by the way, consisting of the 2 teams that battled it out last season as well, TF10 and FVR. Once again, and tonight they're separated by a single point, and it's only round 3, so if this is a sign of things to come, I'm all for it. So I'm really looking forward to see whether they can still keep fighting tonight together, or whether another team can put themselves in the mix. And I can see some teams having a go at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be really good tonight to see what we get out of this one. But we are, your camera has decided not to work for us. It does this sometimes. But yeah, I think we're going to have a really
I can solve that.
We're going to have a really good one, I think, on our hands tonight. Do let us know your predictions for pole position in the YouTube chat. I think, as I said, we're going to have probably a very good round tonight. A very good race, 19 in the lobby, so we'll be getting underway quite soon. For some reason, my microphone sounds really bad, and I have a feeling I know exactly what it is. I feel like it's defaulted to my headset and not my actual microphone. Now all of a sudden it probably sounds very good. And this makes no difference to Frost because it's Discord that we're using, but for the stream it probably now sounds absolutely game changing and I suddenly sound good. Which
I should have a camera again as well, so things are slowly getting fixed.
Yeah, look, we're fixing the problems nice and early. This is what this pre-race build-up is always quite useful for as well. Just in case it's your first time joining us, or you want to know where we're at in terms of the championship, we have already gone over those all-important standings, but it is round 3. It is Brazil, the lovely Interlagos circuit for this round of 12. We've got Bahrain when we come back from our winter break and in the new year. So new year and a new circuit for this season, and Bahrain's going to be a real nice one, I think, to ease us back in. We're still waiting on one more for the lobby, and then we'll be getting underway for qualifying. But as things stand, I am looking thoroughly forward to this round.
Me too, and I'm looking at the driver names currently in the lobby, and there's quite a few familiar names returning from last week, returning from other leagues. In other words, this is quite exciting. Let's see, we've got the top teams have brought Mark Schluter for TF10 alongside Krutzis, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Bierzinski. Then for FVR, we've got a very familiar name in the name of Zach Miles, alongside, well, it appears the other FVR driver is actually missing. Yep, he is. For TTM, last week's race winner, we've got Luke Mills, very familiar name that as well, and Givano Kennis, the Dutchman there. For TES, they have to serve a qualifying ban, by the way, tonight. We've got Carlos Galindo alongside Conrad Bohm. For ABS, we've got Lolo Vera and Sasha Labouchere. For ET8, we've got Po Viegas and Gustav Reiderdal. For EVE, Steven Vaso, Vuk Gaika. Then for NLR, we've got Tim Tornimo and Ivan Santamaria. And AMR have David Martinez and Raminguez. And then for... Oh, I'm still missing one team here, aren't I? Yes, VRM, of course, have brought the familiar names of Jeremy Gallagnier, tonight's host as well, alongside Tristan Derbecourt. So, some very promising names here, I think.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have a really good round tonight. We've already seen in that championship a little bit of shaking up, people going up, down, and pretty much all around, actually. And I think we're going to kind of see the same as this season goes forward. There's still an opportunity for plenty of teams. We see, if we just flick up those standings, you know, it's really close in that mid-pack. You have got TF10 and FER, who are kind of a little bit out in front on their own. But then there's quite a lot of teams within that kind of 29 to 49 point window. They're going to be pretty much changing positions every round. They really are going to be chopping and changing quite a lot. And we now have 20 drivers in the lobby, which means we are good to go. Everybody is now readying up. So in a moment, we'll be taking you trackside. But yeah, I think with the amount of teams within a 20-point window of one another, there's a lot of movement that I think we're going to see kind of every round, especially just that battle between P3 and P8, you know. There's a lot of teams, and some of those places will get you prize money, others won't, so that's a big, big fight there.
Yeah, all the way down to P5, you've got this prize pool in, don't we? So yeah, there's a lot to fight for, not just for the top spot in this championship, which of course is preferable for everybody, but you know, P2 down to P5 also gets some money, and even the driver with the most points will get points as well in this season.
Yeah, really, really important kind of everything that we are giving out in terms of those all-important prizes. I mean, points do mean prizes in this scenario. But let's take you trackside, because we have some racing to happen. We've got a qualifying session on our hand, and hopefully it's going to be a good 18 minutes ahead of us to decide who is on pole today. I think we are in for a good one as drivers begin to hit the race circuit.
Let's see. First out, Ivan Santamaria. I'm trying to switch over to him. He's quite eager to go out. One of many Spanish drivers tonight. Once again, we saw them last time round in Spain, the home track of many as well. Returning this time, once again, Ivan Santamaria. He put up a good qualifying performance last week. Just really couldn't do as much in the race, unfortunately. So here's hope for another good result for him. The current weather is quite cloudy. It's going to remain this cloudy all throughout qualifying. As for the race, of course, we'll have to wait till the proper race starts, as of course there is a mandatory lobby reset after qualifying to turn back on the collisions, which are, as always, off for this session. There comes Ivan Santamaria around the final proper corner. Let's take him round a lap of Brazil.
Yeah, let's take Ivan around a lap of this brilliant circuit, and well, he'll be looking to deliver a brilliant result as well. He's always the first driver onto the racetrack, and as he heads into turn number one, very nicely indeed. They're going to take it quite eager and a bit gingerly, I think, in this first lap. It is quite easy to invalidate around here. It's not exactly one of those circuits where you can't invalidate, as we head through Sector 1, now into that Sector 2, and this is a difficult corner here, heading up the hill and into this right-hander. It's really difficult. It's fine margins between when you lift off or go down a gear. It's very technical, and this section here as well, very technical. Getting back on that throttle pedal very, very cautiously and carefully. You don't want to spin up the rears in these sort of corners. You will lose a lot of time and a lot of miles per hour through there. And now, pretty much quickly as that, you're already done on the lap. One final corner, well, that's a very famous corner where Lewis Hamilton won his very first championship all the way back in 2008. But up to the line, Ivan Santamaria across the line. It's a 1:07.1, and it's not a bad lap time at all, as now the entire field begin to set their initial lap. And Conrad Bohm, what a lap time from him, really on the pace from the get-go.
I'm not entirely surprised by Bohm's pace right there. I've seen him driving around WR Tier 3 in the PC division as well, and he's really fast. But look at that. Giovanni Kennis coming up to the line second on the front row right there, 3 milliseconds behind the pole. So that is quite the extraordinary job right there for the Ferrari driver. Next up to the line, I'm trying to find him. It might be Jeremy Gallagher. Actually, yes, he is going up to P13 only, 1:07.0. Balin Telekis then going 3 milliseconds faster as Conrad Bohm went. Then he goes up to his first place right there, 6.612. So 3 milliseconds separating P1 and 2, and the same goes for P2 and 3. That is quite interesting indeed. We see both ABS drivers having retired, and I'm trying to find where exactly. There they are. Yeah, they had to serve 2 qualifying bans indeed, as had TES. They decided to retire Carlos Galindo. So 3 drivers will not be setting a lap time tonight, meaning 17 will begin with Tim Turnimo, the only one without a lap time just yet.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if he's going for a second push lap here. I actually think he might just be holding off. I've noticed that the weather graphic is on the screen, and I can't quite figure out why or how. If I'm honest, I think I may have gotten rid of it, but I'm not sure. But Tim Tenemo currently on a lap time now and heading up to the line. What can he do? It's only 16th, so not a brilliant lap time from him, but he did opt to go for a second flying lap, so that does make total sense as to why that would happen. I've gotten rid of the weather overlay. My Stream Deck is not working on me for some reason, so I do apologise for the random weather graphic on the side of your screen, but I think we've got a real interesting qualifying session. FVR, obviously, understandably, towards the top. Same for TF10. But Tomas Ungersim racing there with Comrade. And then also Giovanni Kennis as well. Both quite up there. And Luke Mills, who's the man on your screen at the moment, in 9th. So not looking too bad for TTM. Obviously, they had a very good round last time out. And the same goes for Tomas Ungersim racing with Comrade, who's obviously the only driver that will be qualifying, as Carlos Galindo has a qualifying ban. But drivers back out onto the circuit, and Comrade Bohm is one of them. I'm not sure who's leading the way. I think it might be.
Once again, Ivan Santamaria.
I had a sneaky feeling that it was once again Ivan Santamaria.
First in, first out, and then back. Back again for another round. However, I'd say we're going to follow somebody else. Conrad Bohm is next up to the line, so it would be interesting to see what he can do in his second run. Currently only 3 milliseconds away from second, but he's also 3 milliseconds away from third. Another interesting fact, that the difference between first and last is about 0.6 of a second. That is how close it is in Brazil. Not surprising, seeing how short and fast this track is, with not that many slow corners and quite a few fast ones. Of course, turns 1, 2, and 3, known as the Senna S's, notorious in this game for getting you an invalidation for your lap, but it looks like Conrad Bohm has managed to do quite successfully, half a tenth quicker through Sector 1, which is already enough for provisional pole position, but of course he has to wait and see what the rest is doing, as Giovanni Kennis just behind him has started a hot lap as well. But we're following the Williams driver towards turn number 8. A tricky one this sector is right here, the slowest of the 3 of them. Of course, this corner needs to be taken as much on the inside as possible without going over the white lines as per usual, as Jeremy crashes out in turn number 2. Out goes the Williams driver right there. That's not good news there for VRM. He's only 14th fastest, and that is if he's lucky. So that is a bad day there for VRM indeed. However, Conrad Bohm next up to the line, 1.5 tenth up through the middle sector. Ivan Santamaria has gone back into the pit lane, not satisfied with his lap, but Conrad Bohm is going to smash it right there. 1 minute 6.4. Then one of the Haas drivers coming up, I believe that is David Martinez for the Haas/AMR team. Let's see what he can do. It is not good enough. 3.3 seconds off the pace, probably a banker lap right there. So to say, Giovanni Kennis does not improve. In fact, he only goes 1 millisecond slower than his previous lap time, and therefore stays third fastest. Tristan Derbecourt for VRM gives them a little bit of hope as he goes up to P6. Zach Miles gets FVR much further up in the standings, going to P5 right there, as Andrew Mingus flies to the line, goes into P number 2 right there with a 6.5, and Mark Schluter going ahead of his teammate there into P6 with a 1 minute 6.6.
Yeah, getting a lot of good lap times now across the board, I think, really. Conrad is not setting an improvement at all. He's on an in-lap. So, yeah, looking at this kind of grid that we got at the moment, I'm not really sure if anyone's about to come across the line and finish a lap. Yeah, I think everybody's coming in already. That's how quick the lap times are, though. The moment you finish one lap, everybody's gone. And Ivan Santamaria, he's already back out for another hot lap. This man, he can't get enough of it. He's always on the track, pretty much.
Yeah, just ahead of his teammate, who is on a hot lap, because, of course, he went out a little bit later. He's kind of, as we would like to say, what's the term? If you're not yet out of sync. That's what I love. That's the term what I was looking for. He's currently in Sector 2. NLR a little bit on the back foot at the moment, in 15th and 16th only. Not at all where they would like to be, and not at all where they are supposed to be. On average, they are the slowest team. 2.5 tenths up, though, through the middle sector for Tim Turnimo, which means he will be going somewhere close to the top 10 if he keeps up this pace. As for EVE, we haven't seen a lot of them just yet. They're currently 9th and 13th, last in the standings at the moment. the team standings, I should say, though that's a good result for them as Tim Tornimo goes into P9 with a 1 minute 6.800. Not too bad, and maybe a little bit of more hope than for the RB team.
Yeah, and next to come across the line will be one of those EVEs you were saying about how they're not maybe looking too much where they want to be. I think NLR definitely would have wanted that lap from Tim Tonemo just to get them in a better place. Vuk Geisha is the next driver to come across the line. Apologies if I've butchered that. But yeah, is the next driver to come across the line, and he's going to have lost a lot of time with that rear end slide out the final bend. But goes and improves to 10th, so not bad actually. All things considered there, I think given the issues that he was having. I think next to come across the line is starting a hot lap, and that's going to be Chris Berzinski there, as I butcher every pronunciation that there is. And I believe it's Ivan
I think that's the best we can do.
Across the line. What can he do? Goes 7th. Wow, that's a big jump for one NLR, as the other one has a good improvement as well. I think Luke Mills has just come across the line to start a flying lap time. But yeah, really interesting to see that kind of jump from Santa Maria. So interesting to see that maybe NLR are a bit more pace than we're maybe giving them credit for, because it does seem that they're pulling a little bit of pace out of that pocket.
Yeah, Ivan Santamaria then splitting TF10, the team that is chasing the top team at the moment. FVR currently 3rd and 5th as they are 6th and 8th. Chris Bietzinski currently on his way on a hot lap. He's about to cross the line, just closed off sector number 2. His teammate is just ahead, about to start one. So let's see what he can do to get the team a bit higher up in the standings. Can he beat Ivan Santamaria at the very least? Yes, he can. He also beats his own teammate as he goes into P6 and therefore taking over Mark Schluter's place. Mark Schluter, however, on a hot lap at the moment, but I believe next across the line is, well, it's not Ivan Santamaria. He's about to finish his lap. Could be Luke Mills then. No, he's decided to abandon this lap as well. He invalidated the previous one, decided to go again. However, not really working out that brilliantly for him either. So then, once again, one of the Haas cars is coming up to the line. It's David Martinez. He's about 67 milliseconds quicker through Sector 2. So let's see if he can steal that provisional pole from Conrad Boehm, who's still sitting in the pit lane. There he goes. No, he stays in a last position, 7.047. Still needs to find quite a lot of time. But there comes Balin Telekis for FVR. Taking that provisional pole position with a 1 minute 6.407, marginally quicker than Conrad Boehm. Zach Miles, what can he do? I believe he actually just started his hot lap. Yes, he did. One of the Haas cars there. That was Gustav Ruderdal. He goes up to P5, which has now become P6 as Mark Schluter does take that 5th position from him. Then the other Aston Martin is coming up to the line right now. Half a tenth quicker through Sector 2. Paul Villegas across the line. That means staying in P15, unfortunately. It's only a 3/100th of a second improvement. Tim Tornimo started his hot lap right there. And there comes one of the EVE drivers, I believe, but Stephen Vaso also just started.
Yeah, really interesting to see those drivers that have gone a little bit off sync with their second runs. You've got Stephen Vaso, and I believe it's one of the V-carbs there. Is that Tim Tonemo, who's on a hot lap at the moment as well as Mark Schluter, all of whom are on hot laps at the moment. But yeah, really interesting. Balin, they're really shooting up to the top. That's exactly where FER should be. Zach Miles maybe looking at what his teammate did a little bit as well and thinking, where can I get that improvement in my lap time, because he's a few tenths off, and a few tenths means quite a few places in any racing league, let alone CSS, where it can be even finer margins than that. So going to be looking for a little bit more pace, I think. Zach Miles, most certainly, but a few other drivers as well, I think, have got a little bit more pace to find. Stephen Vaso up to the line. He's found a little bit of pace. A 10th improvement takes him from 14th to 10th. And, you know, that's a few places gain. That puts him further into the points positions for the race. So that's exactly what EVE needs. So just under 4 minutes to go left in this session. Luke Mills is the first driver back out on an out lap. He's about to begin a flying lap. Take us away.
Indeed, I will. His teammate currently sitting in P3 as he goes through the center as is Luke Mills, of course, a very, familiar name, goes off the track, but the game has decided not to invalidate. Probably lost too much time there anyway. Let's see how bad the damage is at the end of Sector 1. Half a tenth, not that much to be fair. So I think he's going to try and continue this hot lap anyway. Yes, he does. Through Sector 2, then approaching turns 6 through 8. Pretty much full throttle right there. Then staying in gear number 6, approaching turn 8 right here. Luke Mills, we haven't seen him for quite a while. He's back in business for the TTN team. Same goes, of course, for Zach Miles. I haven't seen that name for quite a while as well. Of course, I'm not following all leagues, but at least here, it's good to see him back and coming out from FVR this season. Luke Mills then, end of sector number 2, still loses a little bit more time there as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he abandons this lap, goes in for a quick stop and then comes out with fresh tires. Unless he just found a mega load of time through turn 12. He decides to continue on anyway. Is it going to be an improvement then? No, he backs off just before the finish line, goes for a cooldown lap potentially, because if he uses this as an in lap, it's going to be too late to come back out again. And therefore, 2.5 minutes remain, and that means we're now on the big finale of this qualifying.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone coming out now. It's their final attempt for a flying lap here, as Vuk Geyser for EVE is just going through Sector 1. He's got a few cars on out laps or slower laps, just kind of in and around him. They're not really getting in his way, which is exactly what you want as a racing driver. You don't want someone just kind of being a bit of an annoyance or kind of distracting your attention away. It just means you can properly zone in, narrow in on the the matter at hand. As you see there, Luke Mills pulling off there to the side just to let the man who's on your screen on a hot lap through. And now it will be go, go, go up to the line, but half a tenth improvement here. Not a huge margin. Could gain him a place or two, but needs a little bit more to try and get anything more meaningful out of here. Hopefully there's a lot of time in Sector 3. There is a lot of time in Sector 3. 2 tenths in Sector 3 improvement there. So that's a really good lap time. Exactly what's needed to try and take a good qualifying position, but plenty of drivers on flying laps now. Next to come across the line, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is Zach. No, it's not Zach Miles. It is who is Aaron Raminguez.
Aaron Raminguez, but he's backed out of this lap as well. I think he's either going to go again or go in. He was 2 seconds off the pace. He was actually on a hot lap. But he's going to try again, so properly the driver to cross the line. It's also not Mark Schluter. There comes then one of the RB cars, also about to start a hot lap. So it's David Martinez who is going to cross the line first. Never mind. He's also decided to back off and then go
Zach
again,
Miles.
as apparently... Yeah, Zach Miles then, at long last. That's the first driver to do so. Let's see what he does. No, he's also not on a proper hot lap. They're all slowing down because the sun has just come out, I noticed. So maybe the track is going to evolve properly in the final few seconds. 20 seconds remain. So let's see what happens there then. Tristan Derbecourt also has started a hot lap right there. I think Conrad Bohm has just started as well. He stays currently in second place. No, whoa, he goes off massively into turn 1. What on earth has happened to the Williams driver right there? It's certainly not going to be pole position then for the pole right there. As qualifying has now come to an end properly, Giovanni Kennis is the first to cross the line. Then it goes exactly as fast as Balin Telekis. How has he done that? Never mind that. As Balin Telekis improves himself, stays in provisional pole position. So the question is, who's going to beat him to it then? Aaron Dominguez, perhaps? He's got the potential. No, he doesn't. Mark Schluter stays in 5th as well. Then one of the NLR drivers is about to cross the line. That's Tim Tornimo, stays in P12. The other Haas driver of David Martinez is going to try and improve from last position. And he does so by going into P14. Then Zach Miles to cross the line goes up to P5, giving FVR slightly better starting position and at least beating their current rivals as Ivan Santamaria goes up to P number 9. Then the only remaining VRM driver, Tristan Derbecourt, for P11. Then one of the Aston Martins, that is Paul Villegas, goes up to 14th place. The other Aston Martin of Gustav Ruderdal is about to cross the line as well. Through the middle sector, he was a little bit up on his own time. He doesn't improve, stays 7th fastest. So who can claim pole position from the remaining drivers? Is it Chris Biatsinski? No, stays in P8. Conrad Bohm has given up already, and that means FVR claim another pole position, this time though with Balin Telekis and Givano Kennis for TTM on the front row alongside him.
Yeah, really good from Balin Alekis there to take that pole position. Really good lap time right at the end to keep that away from TTM, who had such a great round last time. One driver's doing really good in qualifying, Givano all the way up in second. The other one all the way down at the bottom of the field in plumb last. So really interesting, this qualifying session. A real mixed bag, I would have said. We got a lot to unpack out of this one, but your qualifying classification, Balin Alekis, the man on pole, followed by Giovanni Kennis, Conrad Bohm, Aaron Dominguez, and Zach Miles, your top 5. Mark Schluter, Gustav Reiderdil, Chris Pezensky there, then Ivan Santa Maria, then Vuk Geka, Tristan de Herbecourt, then Stephen Vasso, Tim Tonemo, Paul Villegas, and then David Martinez rounding out your top 15, and Luke Mills in 16th, and then your 4 DNFs or non-starters there. My Stream Deck is really broken, and I can't seem to figure out why. So I'm now going to take this small intermission whilst we build up towards the race to try and fix this annoying pesky thing. But really interesting qualifying. Your thoughts?
Well, everybody until Luke Mills, that is all the drivers who finished the qualifying, are within half a second of each other. I've never seen a qualifying this close. Of course, the track characteristics allow it to be this close, but I think everybody within half a second, that is quite promising. Even Luke Mills and Givano are very close together in pace, but the difference is already 2nd and 16th. So yeah, I'm curious to see what that will mean for the race, whether we'll see a very long DRS train all the way until the first round of pit stops, whether the rain is going to play a factor, of course, if it falls in the main race, that is, and how the teams are going to cooperate with each other to make sure to get the ideal positions they want. The team that can cooperate best out of them all is currently TF10. Their drivers are closest together. In fact, they start right behind one another. They only have got Gustav Ruderdal for ET8 in between them. They're starting from 6th and 8th. So they could have the potential to do something special from there, especially considering their rivals, FVR, start in 1st and 5th. And of course, those teams in the mix for the win, TTM, TES, and AMR, with their drivers in the top 5 as well. So all in all, a lot of stories here potentially to be written, I'd say.
Yeah, I've somehow managed to fix my Stream Deck, which is good news for the overlays and the things, and not causing more chaos than I already have. But yeah, I think exactly that. We've got a lot of talking points for this one, and a lot of things that we look at from that qualifying session that we can really unpick and have a real deep dive into. And I definitely think that FVR are really such a standout team so far this season. They've been pretty much on the ball from the get-go. But now we're starting to see teams really getting into that mix. TTM there up in 2nd. I think that's a really solid result for them. You know, to have a driver on the front row, that's what they need to be doing. Disappointing for their other driver to be all the way down in 16th. Absolutely. But this is how racing goes. Sometimes you can't always be on the mark from the get-go. It's about how they respond. Now, we saw last time out how TTM bounced back from being right at the plum of the standings. So now it's about where they can go from 16th on the grid, and where they can finish. I think they've got a good chance to move a lot of places up the order. They've got the pace. They've just got to show it in race trim. You know, the race will be difficult. We've got a lot of laps. There's a chance of a safety car. Safety cars do happen quite a bit at Brazil. So I think we've got definitely a dramatic race. And as we all know, Brazil is very prone to a bit of wet weather.
Indeed. I'm looking at the latest results. AMR, of course, is in the mix. They've got the similar situation to TTM in terms of the starting grid, that they are starting 4th and 15th with Aaron Dominguez and David Martinez, respectively. Last race, one of the drivers finished in 3rd, so they could definitely be in with a shot for the title as well, if their drivers get a little bit more consistent in terms of results. because last week they finished third, yes, but the other driver only scored 4 points, and that should be P12 or 11 from the top of my head. So not ideal for them either. Then, of course, there's TTM. Who knows what could have been had they scored points in the first round as well. And now, with a driver in second and 16th, there's all to play for them too. And of course, the main rivals battling it out as usual, TF10 and FVR, who let's see if either TTM or AMR or maybe even TES can get into the mix. Because don't forget, even TES had got a podium in the first race with third place right there as well. Their other driver only scoring 1 point, and then last race they had a really poor one. They were fighting for the win, from what I can remember. And then a lot of bad luck in the last few rounds caused them to drop a lot in the standings, only scoring 2 points in that round, and now they're sitting in 8th in the standings, which is quite far away, a 59-point gap to the lead team at the moment. And I'm also really curious to see what EVE can do, because right now they're on 8 points, but they're only 3 points away from VRM in 9th place. And one of their drivers had crashed out of qualifying, so let's see what the Alpine team can bring to the table as we are waiting for the grid to get set.
Yeah, we are indeed. I just noticed, I'm checking the Discord just to see, we had a few drivers disconnect from the lobby, and I like the fact I got a message. Were the graphics still up and broken? Thank you. Thank you. I figured that one out about 10 minutes. It's 20 minutes ago, actually. But yeah, we're having a good one, I think, and we're in for a good race. And do get your predictions in for if we have a wet race or not, because I do think we have a strong chance of seeing wet weather here at Interlagos. It's one of those circuits. It's unpredictable, and it can cause that little bit of carnage, that little bit of drama with a bit of wet weather. And I love it when we get a wet race, because it does just throw that little bit of extra spice, that little bit of extra drama into the mix, which we don't normally see. So yeah, hopefully we do get a little bit of wet weather to spice things up, but we are getting everybody back in, and we will be getting that grid set nice and soon, and then hopefully quite quickly going into the race, because I think, as we said, we are in for a real good race, I think.
Yeah, it looks like the last drivers joined. ET8 were the last two to join. Some issues and some drives afraid of the screen freeze issue when they tap out. I'm not sure if I said it last week already, but if you want the game to run properly, don't run it fully full screen. Run it in windowed full screen, because then you can tap out safely without the game starting to cause screen freezes for many of drivers. Personally, so far, I haven't suffered from any issues whatsoever, so I think it might be the solution. But then again, it might be different for everybody, as Ace is asking the host if whether we are good to go, whether the grid is set already. Of course, the only two drivers that joined late might have caused a tiny bit of delay, but then again, things like that happen. And then we'll be getting underway for 36 laps of racing around here in Brazil. You said it already. The weather could play a big role here, because this track is infamous. We saw it in real life as well a month or two back in Brazil. A lot of rain in that race, and it's been heard of quite a lot around here. After all, the location of this track really allows it to become rainy quite quickly. We are readying up, I think, as we speak. Let's talk a little bit about strategy then.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Strategy, important, right? It's gonna be probably. We're used to this for a 50% race. It's gonna be a hard medium, medium hard. Maybe someone who starts on the mediums gambles on the softs. Maybe someone who starts on the hards gambles on the softs. But that's normally what we expect to see. But if it's rain, then it all gets thrown out the window anyway. So I think we gotta wait and see what the weather's saying first and foremost. I know it's been a few minutes, just in case you've forgotten where we're going racing. Here is the track map for where we're at tonight. Why is my stream deck still not working? It's loaded now. Here it is. It's the Sao Paulo, Brazil circuit, all of elevation, and 2 DRS zones. Plenty of overtaking opportunities around this circuit. 15 corners, and plenty of those being overtaking opportunities. 2.67 miles, and yeah, I'd say your main overtaking opportunity is going to be that turn 1, but don't count out a dive into turn 4 or even turn 12 as well. There's so many overtaking opportunities and places you can go side by side around here as well. But I think we're pretty much, in a second, going to be ready to take you trackside as we're pretty much there or thereabouts. They've just got to pop on their setups, get their strategy sorted, and we'll see it probably take just a little bit longer if there's some rain on the circuit when we get trackside, which I'm just waiting for it to load. It's a little bit on the overcast side, but it's not raining.
We've all had a poll in the chat. Do we have a wet race tonight? 55% of you lot voted for yes. As you can see, at least for now, it's starting off dry. But of course, things could still change. We do not know yet. We'll have to wait until the race starts for our telemetry to get updated properly. Right now, it still says it's sunny at the moment, which it definitely is not, unless you're above the clouds, of course. So overcast all the way, at least for now, just like it was in qualifying, and we'll soon find out whether that cloud will turn into rainy clouds or whether they will part and make way for the sun. Once again, like it happened in qualifying as well, which might explain those drivers all going very late on the hot lap, some of them backing out on the last attempt to try again with only a few seconds left on the clock. Thankfully, everybody made it across the line in time indeed, and all we need to do now is wait for all of them to pick a setup. Whether it's going to be rainy or not, as I said, we do not know yet, but the drivers, of course, do know it. So they are going to see what setup is going to be best for them. A full dry, full wet, or maybe something in between them to make sure they are as fast as possible around this track. Should be very interesting indeed. We'll also see by the tires they choose, because we've seen some wet races before, and more often than not, when the rain comes late, everybody will they usually start on the hard tires to make sure they can last all the way until that proper moment to switch to those inters, don't they?
Yeah, a lot of drivers do wait as long as they can, but that totally makes sense if you think about the strategy at play for these guys. Oh, here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here at Interlagos, and it is lights out and away we go for round 3 of the season, and it is a good start for your pole sitter, Balin Alekis here, who leads us into turn number 1. No challenge there. What do we got towards the back? Have we got any drama? Have we got any fighting? We've got squabbling. We've got side-by-side. Pretty much everywhere you look, we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. That's Paul Villegas there, who has spun there all the way at turn 1. He's got a lot of time to try and make up here. But lap 1 underway, a few positions changing. Gustav Reidedal battling here with Mark Schluter, who's losing a few places on the opening lap of this race. But lap 1 of 36, we're underway, and Balin Alekis leads us away.
Everybody has decided to start on the hard tire, except for the ABS team, who've all decided to go for the medium. Sasha Labouchier and Lolo Vera, as they had a qualifying ban to serve, will start on those yellow wall tires indeed. Many fights happening on track at the moment. Tim Tornimo and Steven Vaso, for example, fighting out for P12, with Tim edging out the Alpine car right there. Now in between them at the moment, trying to get past Vugaika as well. But lap 1 so far with one major incident. Paul Villegas has got no front wing left, so he's got to limp back to the pits. We're going to go 3 wide into turn 1 potentially, as Giovanni Kennis has decided to get past Balin Alekis before the first proper DRS zone is getting activated there. Conrad Bohm is slotting in just behind. Zach Miles is quickly trying to get close to his teammate. It looks like Conrad Bohm might potentially go for a move into turn 4. No, he's actually charging his battery and decided to stick behind for now. He's currently in the FVR sandwich, as we'd like to call it. A little bit further back then, the 2 TF10 drives with Chris Biedzinski currently ahead of Mark Schluter, as Mark had a pretty poor start from a bit further up the grid right there to get now behind his teammate Van Santamaria, knocking on his door, or pretty much on his gearbox at the moment. Further back still, we've got Luke Mills and Carlos Galindo, who served the qualifying ban side by side. Carlos making up positions rapidly right there, already up to P15, pushes Luke a little bit wide now. Mills out of the points, Carlos Galindo in the points, now chasing down David Martinez. But so far, Giovanni Kennis leading from Balin Alekis and Conrad Bohm, and let's see how this unfolds.
Yeah, I think Balin Alekis is going to have this nicely on the inside as we go 3 wide briefly over again, side by side between the FVR and Thomas Unger Sim Racing. But now the outside doesn't prove to be too beneficial for Comrade Bohm, who now is going to have to do a little bit more looking behind than he is in front, but is able to maintain the place in second place versus Giovanno. Giovanno has to run wide on the exit there. That promotes Zach Miles into third. The man who I believe started 6th on the grid, now up to third. Not a bad start for Zach Miles. He's made up a few places here and now ahead of Giovanno TTM. One car going forwards and one moving a little bit back at the moment, but it is all guns blazing at the moment for FVR. Balin Alekis leading the way, Comrade in second, and then Zach Miles in third. I'm noticing that it was a little bit sunnier when we started. It's now a little bit more overcast. Are we in for some rain?
Yes, we are, but at the very, very, very tail end of the race. So I'm not sure if we're going to see it unless we see like 3 or 4 safety cars potentially. But then again, the prediction isn't entirely accurate, so we might see it sooner than they are predicting at the moment, as Sacha Labouchere unsurprisingly sets the fastest lap of the race. He's made up 3 places already, up into P16. Teammate Lolo Vera currently in 19th. Both TTM cars slowly moving backwards. Zach Miles is getting harassed by one of them. Giovanni Kennis wants to get back past. He started 2nd, now down to 4th. And he's also got Aaron Ramirez right behind him, getting very, very close indeed as they approach turn 6 and 7 and 8 as well. It looks like Aaron might even try and move in turn 8. No, he doesn't. Even Ivan Santamaria was having a little thought about it. I mean, that is an overtaking sport if you're really, really brave. David Martinez has decided to be brave, actually, as he moves past Carlos Galindo. Or actually, I believe it was Carlos trying to get past him. In fact, now Carlos has to defend against Sacha Labouchere. ABS desperately trying to get into the points, having decided to pick an aggressive strategy right there. There goes Sacha into 15th place, then scoring the single point for the team right there. And hopefully many more to come as he tries to move up the grid. Meanwhile, front of the field, it's side by side for the race leaders. Conrad Bohm moves past with DRS, no problem there at all. In fact, Balin's let him past quite easily. Zach Miles, his teammate right there, under pressure still from the Ferrari. It's still close fighting, but it looks like Conrad Bohm just tried to create a little bit of a gap, but it's going to be difficult with all of those rear rings open behind him.
Yeah, the DRS is worth a lot of lap time here. I would have said it's probably about 6 or 7 tenths of lap time you gain just having that rear wing. So really difficult to pull away unless you've got a real significant pace advantage. So that would be something like fresh tyres versus someone who's on older tyres, that sort of thing. That will allow you to pull away if you can get the margin. But at the moment, unless there's a lot of squabbling, a lot of fighting, Jeremy Gallagher has clearly been doing a little bit too much fighting with the steering wheel as he's got himself a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings as Ivan Santa Maria there battles and gets ahead of Mark Schluter. But Zach Miles, he's clearly struggling a little bit for his pace as he is about 6.5 tenths behind his teammate Balin Alekis here, who's not going to be close enough to put on a challenge for the race lead. But Aaron Ramirez is trying to defend his place of 5th and maybe even make an overtake in the process of Giovanni as they go side by side out of the center. S is there and down Retro here and in towards Decino de Largo. There's a few changes for place there as Gustav Reiderdale into 6th, Chris Bazensky there into 5th. And now Reiderdale and Ramirez side by side. Oh, up through here. That is very, very risky stuff. But Reiderdale holds it down the inside, but that'll turn to the outside. But Ramirez has had to back off there. So up to 6th. And Ramirez, 2 places down. He at one point was looking to make a move on Giovanni, and now he's down to 8th.
Ivan Santamaria, Aaron Ramirez going side by side into turn 12. Mark Schluter is having a front row seat view of the situation right here as they're still going side by side. However, for now at least, Ivan Santamaria gets ahead. He's on a roll. He's made 2 positions up since race start already. In fact, Aaron Ramirez is now in trouble. He started in 4th and now down to 9th, and perhaps even worse than that, Mark Schluter immediately also decided to take Ivan Santamaria's 7th position. He wants to get back into at least P6. That's where he started, and chasing down his own teammate, and he does so by going up to 7th. now go and try and chase down Gustav Ruderdal. Ivan Santamaria goes defensive once again, tries to stay ahead of the McLaren of Tristan Derby-Court. Instead, Aaron Dominguez decided to go around the outside, or does he? Into turn 5 right there he goes. The fighting having created quite the gap to the next car ahead, but at least they're still within DRS range as Aaron Dominguez takes P8 from Ivan Santamaria. Ivan is pretty much all over the place. He's making up the places, then loses them again in quick succession every single lap so far. Up and down the field then the Spaniard goes. In the meanwhile, a lap ago, Chris Biedzinski just casually overtook 2 cars as Ivan tried to defend against Aaron Dominguez. He just decided, well, thank you, I'll just take the outside on the both of you and go up into P5. And now he is all over the back of Giovanni Kennis, who sees that podium position slip away slowly but surely as Zach Miles has found his pace again, overtakes his teammate and Conrad Bohm as well for the lead of the race. Oh, they're boxing in the TES driver right there, because now they are together. Now they are in first and second, and now they can try and control the race.
They absolutely can, and this could leave Conrad a little bit vulnerable down the straight here, but Conrad having to do what he can as he went side by side there ever so slightly with Balin Alekis to try and maintain the 3rd place that he's been demoted to, losing 2 places there, but that's to be expected. That is exactly what you know is going to happen in that sort of scenario. You've got 2 drivers behind you, both of whom can work together, and that's no surprise there. That was a very orchestrated move from FVR there to take that P1s and P2 spot. But that little bit of battling has really allowed everyone behind to just catch up a little bit, because everybody else Constantinaed up and bunched up that little bit more. So now everyone is very, very close again, except Balin Alekis, who's about 7/10 off of his teammate. He's still within DRS range, but within a danger zone that there's not much of a tow or slipstream, which could allow Conrad to possibly think about a move as down the inside. It's a move for Chris Biedzinski there, who does manage to hold it, has to really fight for a little bit of room there in his battle with Giovanni Kennis here as we head down Retro once more. 9 times we've been down this straight, doesn't feel like it, and immediately going side by side there through as we go through Destino del Lago. Brilliant here as now we head up towards and through turn number 6, and still very, very close between these two as Gustav Rydell makes a move here on Biedzinski and up into well, they're still going side by side here. This is a lovely little battle between the pair of them, and there is 5th and 6th battling side by side here. Oh, wheel banging a little bit here. This could be a good opportunity for Mark Schluter to get involved here and get that place back that Rydell took away from him a few laps ago, as I accidentally pan off him. But we are looking really good. This battle here is heating up a little bit for TF10 and ET8 as we head on to lap number 10, and even more battling towards the front as well.
Yeah, Balin Alekis is doing a fabulous job of keeping Conrad Bohm behind, because he really, really doesn't want the Williams to get past.
Oh!
It's like a repeat of last week, isn't it? Because that's another TES10 driver. Have you got a yellow flag, by the way? Somebody's going really slow. That's Gustav Ryderdal having an incident, then fighting of the Tier 10 cars as one of them is still going side by side. It's an absolute nightmare then. It's also Chris Biedzinski who's lost several positions. David Martinez was ghosting a little bit there. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't see what happened right there. Byron, I'm not sure if you saw it.
Got it live on stream. Absolutely brilliant. They Biedzinski was trying to hold it around the outside as they exited the Senna S and went through Curva de Sol, I believe that was, as they went out of the exit of turn 3. And yeah, as they went round there just wasn't enough room for Biedzinski, and unfortunately, he took Rydell around with him. So both of them lost a lot of time and a lot of places there, and it opened up a little bit of a gap, but immediately that gap was filled with more cars as Balin Alekis, Zach Miles, they swapped places once more, and once again Conrad not able to get involved here just because FVR are really in control of this race at the moment. They can dictate the pace, they can dictate the positions, they've got full hammer and fist over this race, and they can really make it play into their hands exactly as they want it, unless someone is able to dive down the inside and get involved and make a little bit of carnage here.
Yeah, let's see if Gustav and Chris can rejoin the fight for the lead. In the meanwhile, as you said, FVR have got it perfectly under control. It's like they've got a very long leash right behind them, all the way down to Luke Mills. They're allowing them to stay with the pack right there, but they will not allow anybody to get past, as they really want to control that first and second position. Conrad is doing everything in his power to get past there indeed. TF10, of course, for a moment, looked like they might have joined their rivals on the front rows in third and fourth, potentially. Unfortunately, incident has brought a definite halt to that one. I'm keeping an eye in the meanwhile on the telemetry. It's now showing 2 Rainy Clouds by the end of it. There goes Giovanni Kennis potentially and Conrad Bohm. No, he doesn't. In the meanwhile, it's side by side for the FVR drivers. It's nearly looking like they're having a fight there for some reason for first position. Zach Miles not allowed, passed by Balin Telekis. Interestingly enough, he wasn't close enough to make the move. Might potentially make him vulnerable into turn 4, but they are making their cars very wide indeed. Not allowing Conrad Bohm to get past again, and Giovanni Kennis is putting up the pressure, and that of course is exactly what the Mercedes drivers want, to have Conrad Bohm have to give him a very hard time indeed there. We see some position swapping, I believe, left, right, and center. It's Chris Brzezinski still sitting in P12 at the moment, behind the other TES drivers of Carlos Galindo, who is trying to make up places as well to get close to Conrad Bohm and potentially help him out right there. In the meanwhile, Gustav is now fighting the other Haas driver. Oh, as he bumps into the rear of David Martinez there indeed for 13th place, trying desperately to get back up front.
Yeah, we're getting a real bit of scrapping here from a lot of drivers and a lot of teams. We saw that move there from Zach Miles against Balin Alekis, and it's a bit of a sign that these drivers are still free to fight and they still want to rack up their points individually. You know, there is still prize money for, you know, whoever does win the championship, you know, the drivers' championship. So that's a sign that although they are working together, they're still free to fight and have a little bit of a scrap. And it was brilliant to see that little moment there, because it did invite, and that's an opportunity there for someone like Conrad Bohm or Giovanni to get in the mix, make an overtake, and that could mean that FVRs, you know, as I said a couple of laps ago, they're hammer and fist on this race. It could come crumbling down just if Conrad gets in the middle of those two drivers. It could really change the dynamic of this race entirely. So it's going to be very interesting to see as we head on to that main straight once more. And yeah, we've got a really good race, I think, beginning to heat up, even if the clouds mean it's a cooling down on the circuit.
Yeah, I saw Giovanni Kennis making a nasty mistake coming out of turn 12. In the meanwhile, Conrad Bohm finally managed to squeeze himself in between the Mercedes. And as I said, Giovanni had a poor exit and he's paid the price immediately. Mark Schluter getting past at the same corner that Conrad Bohm has managed to split the Mercedes once again. Is he going to try and take the lead straight away as well? Well, he's certainly having a look, but not having a go at it, because that will mean he won't have DRS on the upcoming straight once again. Now this is fascinating to see. He's managed to worm himself in between those two Mercedes drivers, not something they like to see. Zach Miles is now the lead Mercedes. There comes Mark Schluter, nearly going side by side with Balin Telekis, trying to make the day worse for FER right there, because they are no longer in control of the race, perhaps because of an inter-team fighting going on right there. They've now lost control, lost a little bit of focus perhaps, as now Conrad Bohm in second place and Mark Schluter, their rival, with a perfect opportunity to try and get past them as they come around again. Let's see what's going to happen on the main straight this time. Conrad Bohm then with DRS. He's got no choice probably but to get into the lead of the race. Zach Miles is moving left and right, and there comes Conrad Bohm on the inside into turn 1. Is he going to take it? Yes, of course he is. He carries a loads more speed then into the first corner, and now Zach Miles down to second place, but a good exit by potentially swap it around again. Zach Miles and Balin Telekis very close together. Mark Schluter as well, as the long train of cars right there coming towards turn number 4, and of course no moves happening right here. Conrad Bohm then leading the race for TES.
Yeah, it's exactly what he needed to do, but what really would benefit Conrad Bohm, who's leading the way at the moment, would be Mark Schluter to do exactly what he nearly did on Balin Alekis, make that move and split the two FERs up. Because they're together, they can work together, you know, and if Mark Schluter was to get in the mix, get between those two FVRs. That could be really different, because now they've not got a car in the lead and they've got a car in between each other, making that just a little bit more difficult strategically for FVR. But it won't be long until we will see a little bit of strategy come into play here as well, as Saka Labrusier has come into the pit lane, changing off those mediums onto a set of hards, and Lolo Vera has come onto another set of medium compound tires. As we saw a change there as Luke Mills got ahead of David Martinez. Will we see a change of positions anywhere along our top 5? It doesn't appear so, as Zach Miles, Balin and Lecky's maintain position, as does Mark Schluter and Giovanno. It's a slow burner at the minute, but give it a bit of time and it's going to go absolute. The afterburners will kick in and it will go full carnage, I think.
Yeah, it's allowed me to have a little look at the difference in pace between Mark Schluter and Balint Telekis. Balint is very fast on the straight, but look at the corners right there. Mark Schluter is just all over the back of the Mercedes, especially in sector number 2, but as soon as they can go flat out, Mark is just left a little bit in the dust, so he needs a perfect exit from turn 12, which he usually gets. But then again, Balint is really being held by the DRS from his own teammate, of course. Conrad Boehm's now got a 6/10 of a gap, by the way, which is quite big for a race leader with DRS behind. Now, finally, Mark Schluter is getting an opportunity already, because look at that. The speed of his car, straight line speed, is just really not good, as Giovanno Kennis, and Raminguez is getting a dive from Tim Tornimo, and Tim is now getting up to 6th place, giving an Alar a lot more points. Its teammate Ivan, in the meanwhile, has lost a lot of positions. There comes Tristan Derbecourt past the Haas as well. Yes, he does, and we can see there Aaron Raminguez, a left end plate of the front wing, is having a little bit of damage, which might explain why drivers are starting to pass him all over the track right now.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of damage to the car may not affect you much in terms of your lap time, especially in these sort of trains, but it does affect your tyre wear quite a lot. You know, the air in real world, the airflow around the tyre with damage affects the airflow and means you do get more tyre wear. It happens in the game exactly the same, and that's probably why we're seeing Aaron Dominguez start to struggle a little bit more than drivers around him. Maybe it's because he's getting a little bit more in terms of tyre wear, but I'm not sure where he picked up that damage. I didn't notice it over the last couple of laps, so it may have been more recent damage that he's picked up. His pace doesn't seem to be too bad, all things considered, but at the moment he has lost a few places. He's not where he wants to be, and that front wing damage has definitely got a part to play in it. But half distance in this race, Conrad Boehm leads the way, followed by Zach Miles and Balint Leckis, who started the race in P1. He's down to 3rd. Then Mark Schluter and Giovanno Kennis, both of whom are hoping to reign on FVR's Parade, who at the moment are in a real good point to possibly lead this race, as there could be a change for P9 and 10, as Carlos Galindo there was making a real good attempt of a dive there, but a real good dive in the background there for Ivan Santamaria in his battle with Gustav Rydendale. Oh, Ivan Santamaria, I've jinxed him, he's gone off. Oh, that's absolutely not what I wanted to do for Ivan Santamaria. But onto lap 19, Conrad still out in front.
Yeah, they can't find anybody to blame and call it a racing incident. They can try to blame you for jinxing it. Anyway, we're at past the halfway point, as you said, lap 19. The telemetry says light rain in 32 minutes, which is at the moment long after the race has ended. We're past the halfway point, which means it's about 22 minutes remaining, meaning that we will not see the rain as of yet. But then again, as I said, that might not be entirely accurate. At least most drivers think it's not accurate, as they all started on the hard tires. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see pit stops anytime soon indeed for the switch to the medium tires, because otherwise the tires, these tires at least, are going to be worn out very, very harshly indeed. We got lap 19 right now. Mark Schluter harassing still Bayan Telekis through the middle sector, but you just can't get past. He needs a perfect opportunity. He still hasn't been given one. Maybe he's going to have to give it a go in sector number 2, but then you'll have our Mercedes behind with more straight line speed. So it's a bit of choosing between two evils, I have to say. And maybe an undercut then for the TF10 driver could work. Going to the mediums a little bit earlier than the drivers ahead of him might allow him to get past them at the very least and get it properly into the mix for the lead of the race, because look at this, the gap just gets bigger on the main straight. Stefano Kennis in fact does catch up as well, so Mark might have accidentally carried a little bit too much downforce then to the track right here to make those overtakes work. In the meanwhile, Bayan Telek is getting awfully close to his teammate once again, but no moves as usual being made in turn number 4. So let's see which driver is going to dare it. Ivan Santamaria is definitely daring it, going for a fresh set of medium tires and potentially getting himself closer to the top 10 again.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's got to do. He's taking a bit of a difference in terms of that strategy, but he needs to do something. He's on the back foot at the moment. He's not where he wants to be. In answer to the question of is there going to be rain,
oh,
who knows? We've had a yellow flag. That's Stephen Vasso, I believe, who's had an incident, but he's recovered quite nicely, and means that does not get upgraded to anything more meaningful. But rain could possibly happen, but we're not sure at the moment. It's very overcast. We have rain on the way, but it's as to if it hits before the end of the race or not. Aaron Dominguez changing place there with Chris Basinski for 8th and 9th. There's a 2.2 second gap between Chris and Tristan de Herbecourt there. But Zach Miles has been really struggling in the last few laps to close in on Conrad, I've noticed. That gap has hovered at kind of about 5/10 and gone up between about kind of 5/10, 7/10, that sort of window. FVR, they're not being able to really get pace. Oh, I've noticed it's raining. The answer to the question of if it's raining or not, for some reason, our telemetry says half an hour away. The track has said, how about have it now? I'm not sure if you've seen that as well, because I've noticed a few little raindrops. We're going to have a little bit of rain in this race.
And Conrad Bowman, in the meanwhile, decided he really likes these conditions because he decided to create a 1 second gap immediately. Zach Miles have an absolutely poor run of the final sector. There comes Mark Schluter, and I thought that for a moment they came together, but it was lag on my end, I'm afraid. But they do bump into turn 1 as the conditions are starting to get trickier immediately. Conrad Bohm has managed to escape from them at long last and is now supremely leading the race. They've got no more DRS on him. Now Zach Miles and Bayan Telekis really have to work together, not fight against each other anymore to close the gap back to under a second. But it looks like for now at least, Conrad's got it covered. Ivan and I believe, Carlos Galindo are going to be the unluckiest men in the world as they swap to the mediums already. But the rain is falling right now, and all these drivers need to do is make sure they last long enough to switch to the inters, because sometimes it takes a really, really, really long time for the track to be wet enough to allow those intermediates to work properly. So for the time being, they're going around on the hards. Still, the track still looks pretty dry to me, so no tire changes coming anytime soon. The telemetry says light rain in 27 minutes. Well, as you said, it's happening at the moment, as Paul Villegas goes for the fastest lap of the race on fresh soft tires, but he's nearly a lap down at the moment. Mark Schluter then with another opportunity against Zach Miles. Is he gonna make it work? Finally he does it! Even with the lack of straight line speed, he's now the one who's splitting the Mercedes drivers, and that means more trouble then for FVR with Mark Schluter in between them. Crucially though, Bayan Telekis managed to get DRS on Conrad Bohm again, so if anything, this race is far, far, far from over.
Absolutely, indeed. This race is really, really beginning to ramp up now. The rain has really kicked a few drivers into overdrive. I think Mark Schluter, we said about how he's not got as much straight line speed. This will advantage him if he has more rear wing angle. If he's got a more downforce from that rear wing, it's going to benefit him in these trickier conditions. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Schluter gets really nicely on the back of Bayan Telekis and looks likely to make that move, because he may have more downforce, more pace in the tank for those corners which is going to be really useful if we do head to intermediate tyres or the track get that little bit wetter. Still looks dry for now, but that grip is going to progressively be washed away as Balint Alekis is the first driver into the pit lane. Is this dries? Is this intermediates? This could be a huge gamble. Either way you look at it, it looks like it's mediums.
It's dries.
It's dries. But if this then goes to intermediates, this could be absolutely abysmal for FVR in their race, because now they would be in a really poor position, as out in 15th comes Balint Alekis, may even be 16th there as Carlos Galindo makes the move there around the outside as they go through and down the straight. So 16th place, if it does go to intermediates, this is not good news for Balint Alekis.
Well, if it does stay on the dries, it would explain why the telemetry thinks the light rain is still happening in 25 minutes, because the rain at the moment at least is so light, it's not even considered rain at all, to the telemetry at least. So it's a big gamble then for Balint Alekis. It might pay off brilliantly as the rest desperately stays out to wait for the interconditions. It looks like no, Conrad Boom is staying out. Zach Miles is coming in as well. So FVR going for the double tactic alongside Giovanni Kennis, Tim Turnimo, both of them coming in as well for a switch to the medium tires then, or are they? Let's see if they do. At least the Mercedes does, the Ferrari does as well, and the RB2 to the mediums. Many drivers then opting. Zach Miles, interestingly, actually goes for the soft tires for the remaining 12 laps of this race, which might be brilliant as the temperature gets lower, the tire wear gets less and less. And if he keeps the car perfectly under control, he might be in for a brilliant stint towards the end of the race.
Indeed, but it's a really peculiar choice for them to pit at this point in the race, and there's a chance, and it is a slim chance at that we go to intermediates, and it does look like the rain has picked up a little bit more. I'm noticing some raindrops coming onto the camera and things like that that do indicate the rain's getting a little bit heavier, and I'm seeing that Conrad Bohm is sliding around on the rear end a little bit more. So the pace is clearly falling away on the hard tyres, but is that as a result of the tyre wear on them, or is this due to the track conditions? Well, Conrad Bohm into the pit lane. What's it going to be for the TES man? He's got a good chance of getting a good haul of points, but this is a decisive decision in this race. No one's gambled on the intermediates yet. Could he be the first? It looks like it's going to be medium tyres for him, and it is medium tyres for him as Vuk Gaker and David Martinez both into the pit lane as well. It looks like it's going to be slicks for the entire field as they come in, as David Martinez will take his pit stop now, and I'm just waiting to see what tyre compound he goes on to. It's a set of mediums as well. So now, Mark Schluter, Tristan de Herbecourt, Chris Bezensky, Stephen Vasso, Jeremy Gallagnier, and Luke Mills are the only drivers yet to pit, and they could be the drivers who are thinking about going on to the intermediates, but are they able to, is the question that I think we need an answer to.
I think drivers like both VRM drivers, in fact, are going to brave it out and take chances because they started at the back, and this is a good opportunity for them to make a place as Zach Miles is harassing Carlos Galindo for position. In fact, TES have managed to get their drivers together with Carlos Galindo pitting quite early for the medium tires, has now managed to mix himself in between what is now the de facto race leader, Luke Mills, now getting two Mercedes cars all over the back. This could be his chance to help out Giovanni Kennis for position as he gets DRS, which allows him to defend a little bit into turn one. He's going to attack at the same time as defending as he goes against Jeremy Gallagnier. In the meanwhile, Balint Alekis trying to get past as well. It's absolute chaos. Oh, Luke Mills gets nearly taken out right there, loses positions a lot as he tried to help out Giovanni Kennis right there, and now they're going like 15 wide into turn 4 because look at all of those cars going side by side right there with Balint Alekis coming off best. Tim Turnino suddenly chasing him now for what is effectively the race lead if they all pit ahead of them. Conrad Bohm really, Carlos Galindo I should say, really wants to get past the McLaren as well. Conrad Bohm should follow suit quickly because he's now getting attacked by Zach Miles on those quick soft tires as the Mercedes tries to get past around the outside in turn 9. The softs really working well in these conditions. The track is still not wet enough for intermediates, so these drivers might have made the right choice. Jeremy Gallagher is losing all the grip right there. Those old hards in these conditions not working. Mark Schluter has decided it's probably best to pit as well, as he comes in at long last on those very ancient hard tires. But this fight for the lead of the race might be over by staying out a little bit too long.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems like the track hasn't got near to wet conditions enough yet. Tristan de Herbecourt, Chris Brzezowski, Steven Vasso, they're still on the road on a set of hard compound tyres. I wonder if we're going to see a puncture. We saw 2 punctures last time out. If I remember correctly off the top of my head, we saw 2 punctures in the race when we went racing last week. Could we see more punctures today from these ancient hard compound tyres as they try and gamble for a change onto the intermediates? And I'm not sure it's going to happen. It really doesn't seem like it's going to happen for them. If it does, it's a blinder of a strategy, but I'm not convinced at the moment. It does not seem like it's getting anywhere near wet enough. The rain is intensifying, but just not at the rate they need to make this strategy work.
No, and that then proves the telemetry right in a matter of speaking then, because the light rain conditions mean the track is wet enough for inters, and as you said, it's still not. And I've seen this once and once only before in my career as a commentator, where the track only gets wetter so slowly and slowly and slowly that it's really difficult to predict when it's going to happen. There go Tim and Tornimo and Bela Telikis against Steven Vasso, who's still going around on those old hard tires. I mean, it's probably a good idea to stay out for as long as possible because they have very little to lose anyway. And if it goes to the interconditions all of a sudden, they have put off a master strategy. Same goes, of course, with Tristan Derby-Court as Belen Telikis gets ahead of Tim Tornimo for what is effectively P1, but for P3 for the time being. There comes Carlos Galindo against the Alpine as well. A little bit further back than Miles, Giovanni Kennis and Conrad Bohm. Now quickly getting up to the Alpine as well. Zach Miles being the lead out of those 3. Those softs, I wonder if they have already gone past the best of their lifespan already. There he comes then, Zach Miles trying to go around the outside of the Alpine. He's got no choice but to stick to the move right there. Stephen really doesn't make much of an issue to it anyway, because why would he fight with so little grip remaining? There comes Giovanni Kennis as well. Conrad Bohm remaining behind a little bit longer, but at least he is allowed to get past into turn 12 and 13 as he desperately tries to stay with the race leaders. Tristan Derby-Court decided not to brave it out and go for the switch to the soft tires for the last part of the race. And now that means only Chris Brzezowski is remaining on those old 29-lap old hard tires, and he is going to take the gamble to see if TF10 can pull off something special.
Yeah, and if they can, it's going to be absolutely brilliant for TF10. They really would deserve the win if they do pull off this strategy, but we haven't got that many more laps until that's not a viable strategy at all. Lap 32, lap 33, I'd say exactly as been said by Matteo in the YouTube chat, is probably the latest where this strategy will work, be justifiable, but the track's got to get a lot wetter in the next 2 laps for that strategy to work. Otherwise, it's going to be exactly where Tristan Herbecourt is at the moment, where he's really struggling. But we have got a benchmark here of Steven Vasso, who is on a set of intermediate tyres. He's not gaining time, but he's not losing much time. So the track's kind of in a bit of an equal point between the 2 tyres, the inters, the wets. Chris is into the pit lane. Where's he going to come at in all of this? Tim Tornimo leads the way. He's taken that P1 spot. Chris is in. It's a set of soft. There's only one driver on the intermediates. Ooh. That's Steven Vasso. So the gamble on these really ancient hard compound tyres, it's not worked. In fact, actually, Jeremy Gallagher, he is also on a set of those ancient hard compound tyres. But, again, he's onto a set of soft compound tyres as well. So only Steven Vasso sees any merit in this gamble, and it's not really worked for him. So, really interesting. Tim Tornimo leads, Belen Alecki second, Conrad Bohm and Carlos Galindo third and fourth for TES. Then Mark Schluter in fifth, Zach Miles in sixth. So, really interesting. It provided a bit of a shake-up, but not the strategy to go for.
Yep, and I'm watching here the top 4 separated, or was separated for a moment at least, from Mark Schluter downwards. Zach Miles' soft tires have died already, and now Giovanni Kennis is all over the back of him. The soft tire gamble really wasn't the choice to make, apparently, as he now gets passed by the Dutchman for P6. Zach Miles and Balin Telekis are no longer together. In fact, the only team that could potentially take control right now of the race, interestingly, is TES with Conrad Bohm and Carlos Galindo from the back of the field. Now getting very close to the podium place indeed. Conrad Bohm is having a look at Balin Telekis to get past, but Balin nicely defended the inside of the corner right there, and not allowing Conrad to get past, but a good exit of the Williams driver might potentially still allow him to get through right there, but not just yet. Balin is still in control of the position, at least for now, but it looks like Conrad, at least now, has got the upper hand in terms of race pace, as he is harassing the Mercedes all over the track right now. Carlos Galindo's tires are starting to get really old. Mark Schluter is starting to get really impatient behind him as he tries to get past. In fact, he decides to go side by side around the outside with the optimal grip in these conditions. Grip is absolutely crucial, but Carlos is having absolutely none of it. He doesn't want Mark Schluter to get past. He is actually sacrificing a lot of distance to his teammate right there to keep the TF10 driver behind, but Mark Schluter is still going to try it anyway, and there he goes on the inside on the final corner before the line as they go side by side, 3 wide into turn 1 for the lead of the race. There goes Balin Telekis against Tim Turnimo. Conrad Bohm also trying to get past the RB right there, as he now slots into second place. And the fight for the lead now between 4 cars. Carlos Galindo can no longer keep up. His soft tires are now too old and too worn. Too little grip remaining. Tim Turnimo getting a poor exit out of turn 4. There goes Mark Schluter potentially for another position. TF10 with an ultimate chance to close the gap, but he yields and backs out a little bit to allow Tim to get past. And this is what TF10 have been waiting for. The moment that FVR gets split, they are no longer in control. And now is the perfect opportunity for either of these 4 drivers to take the win.
Yeah, exactly. Balin Alekis, he's got a real difficult scenario here. Zach Miles is nowhere in the chance of being able to assist him. So now it is pure racing. It's about the pace that you've got, the talent that you've got. You know, and it's going to be really difficult now for Balin Alekis to keep this position here, as we will see Conrad undoubtedly take this P1 spot back into turn number 1. Let's see if Tim Turnimo can get involved as well. He's going to go down the inside. Can he hold it here? As you see, Conrad essentially try and help, but he's got himself a penalty in the process here, Conrad, which will not be good for Tomas Unger Sim Racing. That would see them fall to about 6th at the moment on the road, but there's a lot more laps to go until the end of this race as Tim Turnimo here battles with Mark Schluter, who's now up into 3rd onto that podium, and now already onto the back of Balin Alekis. Could he make a move here? And I've really noticed that the track has gotten quite a bit more wet now in these final couple of laps. We are really at a point where it would begin to become a decision about the inters or the slicks, but it is too little, too late in this race. We've seen the rain since probably about lap 20, I think, was when we first noticed the rain, but it's not really fruitioned in a way that's had a meaningful impact on this race, just lowered that grip conditions, which could be exactly what Mark Schluter needs. He's got more downforce on his car. He will have more grip through these corners. It could be brilliant for Mark Schluter and TF10 as Giovanni gets a move there on Carlos Galindo and up into the top 5 for Giovanni, which is a good result at the moment for TTM, as Luke Mills is all the way down in 17th. But plenty of movement still likely to happen in this top 6, and we've only got 2 laps to go now.
Yep, 1.5 lap remaining indeed, and with Conrad's penalty, unless he can try and appeal it, which I'm not sure about. I haven't seen any moment where he got an unfair warning as far as I can remember, but you never really know. It's pretty much in the hands of the drivers behind him. Balin Telekis, Mark Schluter and Tim Turnimo, and maybe even Carlos Galindo with a shot for the win of the race. But we're going to find out very soon as we are approaching the last lap there. Balin Telekis technically leading the race right here. from Mark Schluter, from Tim Ternimo, Giovanni Kennis and Carlos Galindo. Tristan Debecourt has already overtaken Zach Miles. Miles now down to P8 via Rendon, with Tristan scoring at least a nice amount of points. Jeremy tried to brave it out. Oh, sorry, actually it was Tristan trying to brave it out, and he's managed to get back up to P7. Here comes Mark Schluter then. He's got to get past now, otherwise it's going to be very hard to win the race indeed. This is a crucial move for the German. He does get past the rivals fighting it out on track. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2, but we're watching the lead. They are changing into Mark Schluter's favor. Baden Telecki's trying to come back, but he's got Tim Ternimo on his outside in turn 4. Is it then FPR dropping off the podium? At least on track right there. Tim Ternimo desperately trying to get past to try and claim that third position from Baden Telecki's, and he does so. FPR now down to technically third place with Giovanni Kennis right behind, but Mark Schluter now effectively leading the race behind Konrad Bohm at the moment. This is a good opportunity for TF10 to take the lead and the championship as well. Tim Ternimo in between them for NLR. A brilliant result coming up there for the team in the RB as well. And Baden Telecki's starting to fall behind a little bit further. He's got the oldest tires in the top 5, while Mark Schluter's got the freshest, and it's definitely showing at the moment. There they come then, round the final few corners, as Konrad Bohm is about to cross the line. In first position is going to be Mark Schluter for the time being, to come home in second place, and now winning the race. Tim Ternimo, who started in 13th, comes home in second place. He'll be absolutely delighted with that one. Baden Telecki will be happy with third place, despite not winning the race, as he managed to do everything as much as he could on those older medium tires, as they took the gamble to pit a little bit earlier than the rest. Giovanni Kennis then from 2nd to 4th, and Carlos Galindo also with a rise through the field from 18th to P5.
Yeah, that's a really good result from Carlos Galindo, finishing ahead of his teammate due to Conrad's penalty. But Mark Schluter, what a win for him and TF10. That was not something I had on my Brazil race bingo card. I mean, brilliant clinical race from TF10 with Mark Schluter. We exactly said it. We were like, he's not got enough straight line speed. But that played into his hands exactly when he needed it. Right at the end of the race, when there was a bit of rain, he had more grip. He had more downforce. Mark Schluter, brilliant stuff from him. And a well-deserved race win for him. But a dramatic race and a dramatic impact on what will be the championship result out the other end. Because FVR, they struggled right at the death of this race. And that means they will have not got as many points as at earlier points it looked like they were certain for.
I think the biggest loss for FER was Zach Miles deciding to go for the soft tires, unless, of course, it was the famous glitch where you switch to the tires you don't want. Then, of course, it's not something done by Zach. But I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to take the gamble anyway. But now he finished in P8. Then let's see the rest of the results from Carlos Galindo down. Konrad Bohm with his penalty finished in P6. The question in the Discord has already been asked whether his penalty is legit, and the Conrad says we are checking. Then P7, Tristan Debecourt, Zach Miles in P8, Gustav Rudedal for 88 in P9, then Aaron Dominguez, the best driver of AMR, unfortunate as they were fighting for the win there, only finishing in P10. Then Vuk Gaika will be delighted to finish in P11, despite starting a little bit higher than that for EVE, some points at least for them. Then P12 for Chris Bietzinski, who has been colliding with Gustav Ryderdal at the start of the first half of the race. Ivan Santamaria then will probably be disappointed to finish in P13. Sacha Labouchiere from pretty much last on the grid into the points at the very least. Steven Vasa also scoring a point for EVE. Luke Mills had a race to forget in P16. Same goes for David Martinez, Jeremy Gallonier, Lolo Vera and Paul Villegas, despite having the fastest lap nearly being lapped as well, finishing in 20th and last place.
Yeah, really chaotic race that we've just had over the last 36 laps. Sorry, not 26. If only it was 26, we would have had a lack of rain, most certainly. But yeah, a really well-deserved race win for Mark Schluter, who takes the win here today. But definitely a few things going to be going to the steward's room there, as we've already seen that question asked about, is the penalty legit? And a good old Ferrari, we are checking, which I love. I love that. let's see if we can hear from our top three. I'm just going to give him a little ping. But what's your standout moment of that race?
Oh, that's difficult, isn't it? I think
I asked the difficult questions here.
that's a super difficult question because there were many brilliant moments in this race. But I think the moment for me is when Mark Schluter went into second place, pretty much claiming the victory for the team. Because despite lacking the speed on the straights, he decided to go for a setup with the wet weather in mind. And although it didn't get wet enough for the weather to turn into intermediate conditions properly, at least he managed to take the benefit from it by the tail end of the race, and he's shown it. Therefore, taking the win for the team and making that championship battle at the top of the table all the more interesting to watch as they have beaten FVR to the line. Of course, still an FVR driver finishing on the podium, allowing them to keep the gap to a minimum going into the holiday break. So yeah, I think that is the moment of the race. I'd say the driver of the day for me would actually be Tim Tornimo.
Yeah, I'd say Tim Tonemo was really quite a good standout driver here. It's a good result, I think, generally for a lot of drivers. But 13th to second, that's definitely a result to write home about. So, yeah, really happy, I think, to see Tim Tonemo. And I'd agree. Probably my driver of the day, too. Let's hear from Tim Tonemo, your second place man today. Let's hear from him now. Well,
the Discord got some fancy new sound effects, by the way.
I don't know. I have them all muted. Tim Tonemo, how are we?
Yeah. Feel pretty good after that result.
I can imagine. Talk us through that result. Crazy final couple of laps. The gamble between the intermediates, the slicks. Only one driver actually went for the intermediates in that one. Were you expecting it to rain a little bit more, or was this kind of the rain, did you think it would hold off long enough?
When we first saw the rain, I was thinking it's gonna go to Inter, so I was gonna stay out. But the more we went under the rain, the more it just didn't rain enough, and we felt Inter dries are probably gonna be the quicker tires anyways, even if it does keep raining.
Yeah, I mean that's totally fair enough. Obviously, the last couple of laps, pretty crazy. Talk us through it. At what point did you think a podium was undoubtedly on the cards for you in NLR?
Wait, can you repeat that?
At what point?
I missed it.
At what point did you think the podium was solidly on for NLR?
I mean, honestly, lap 1, I think. I'm really confident in the pace, and anything can happen, as you saw. But if we're being real, maybe around after we came out of the box, and I think I made a move on 5 people on the inside, and then we knew it was definitely on from there.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I'm just flicking through the race, and the progress you made through the field was really, really solid. Frost, any questions from you for our second place man?
No, I'm still trying to process the race, actually. I've got no questions at the moment. Well, what can I say, Tim? Well done to you. Extraordinary result, I'd say, for the team as well. Let me actually have a quick look at the calendar, because after the break, yeah, we do have Bahrain. Tim, will we see you there? And if so, is that a track you actually like?
It depends. I really do enjoy Bahrain as a track. I think it's really good looking, and I think it probably offers good racing most of the time, but I wouldn't say I'm the quickest there. But I mean, if I put enough effort in, we can make it happen, I guess.
Well, let's find out. A good result, at least this week, going into the holidays, so you'll be celebrating this one, won't you?
Yeah, I will. Really happy.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and happy holidays.
Yep, you too.
Lovely. Now let's hear from Mark Schluter, your race winner today. Well,
there he is.
Indeed, here he is. Mark Schluter, congratulations. You are a race winner once more for TF10 in Competitive Speed Series. A pretty crazy race. Talk us through that final lap.
Yeah, was very close. Kind of thought I will get him on track because we don't know if his penalty is removable or not. But yeah, still a good result, even if it's P2 in the end after Stewards. Yeah, was just trying to get into P2 for the last lap because that's most likely the best position for getting the win.
Yeah, did you think you were able to challenge for the win, or was that kind of we noticed that your this was something we picked up on all the way back at the start of the race. We noticed your straight line speed wasn't quite that of those in front and kind of behind. A lot of people seem to have had a little bit more less downforce. Was that a strategic thing, kind of in preparation for the possible wet weather, or was that kind of just something that maybe you just had a little bit more than those around you?
I normally work better with a bit higher wings. Work quite well, I think, when my tires got worn, and the others too. I was quite faster than them, but I just couldn't get past because they were battling so much. But yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of battling. Frost, questions from you?
Yeah, actually. You decided to stay out a little bit longer than the main rivals FVR. Was that a conscious choice? Were you hoping for the inters, or were you just... was that a choice you've made at the start of the race?
We were just hoping for the rain to get harder and go on inters to make one less stop than the others, but had the rain just stayed where it was and it was still dry. Still, it's kind of weird. But
yeah, it was a strange process indeed. Also, your teammate was involved in an incident. Have you heard anything about that?
I think Ryderdal just closed the door on him. I don't know. It's just a shame because he got wing damage from that, and I think without that he could have fought for top 5 like me.
Yeah, so you would say there would have been more out of that race had the incident not happened.
Yeah, definitely. We were like around the same pace. So it's just a shame that one guy decided to just close the door on him, even though he was he was alongside. But yeah, it happens.
All right, thank you so much for your insights. At least for now, you've got the win. Let's see what happens with Conrad's penalty. But otherwise, well done to you, and we'll see you after the Christmas break.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Well, I think hearing from Mark there, like, he's very nonchalant about that. He's like, yeah, I just want to race. It's nothing major. You know, but I think he's kind of like already thinking about like the ramifications of that, right? Like, he's thinking about that penalty that could be removed, and he's very like, he seems like a very analytical person. But great.
Yeah, I was fascinated to hear about the fact that they were actually gambling on the rain to become big enough for them to switch to inters. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest.
Yeah,
at least not from Mark.
Yeah, I think though the rain, like, obviously we all know that the game gives like a different weather preview for like every driver for no reason. So I think the reason we saw some drivers hold it out on those hard tires so long into the race was their strategy screen said that the rain was going to come earlier, or, you know, there was going to be heavier rain, when in reality it just didn't happen. So I think like that's probably partly to play with why we saw some different strategies and things like that. But
yeah,
I think it makes total sense for some drivers to take that gamble, especially those further down, right? They've got nothing to lose. You know, they're fighting for the scrap end of the points. So a chance of glory through doing a different strategy, you know, absolutely made sense for them. But to no avail today, but there's nothing saying that's not going to happen later down the line. And speaking of later down the line, seamless segue, here's where we're at in terms of our calendar. We've just had round 3. We've got a winter break, and we will return in the new year on January 11th for Bahrain round 4. We then have a mystery round, Austria, and then Mexico City, Singapore. We then have a further break, China, a further mystery round, Saudi Arabia, and Abu Dhabi to round us off in March. But round 3 is done for PC, but console hit to the track tomorrow. Will they see a rain-filled race then? Who knows? Join them to find out. But I think from us, that is pretty much everything.
Indeed, it was. It was everything for this year. In fact, as 2024 is also about to come to a close. But it's been fascinating throughout all year, all the seasons I've been seeing. I've been commentating. It's definitely a big privilege to see all of these quick drivers driving around, fighting for their teams and making the best of the situation they are given. So all in all, 2024, despite the game and the issues it had, it's at least provided us with some very good racing, a lot of big highlights, plenty of drama as well. But I would say a good racing year indeed. And I'm looking forward to another good year in 2025.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, from all of us at Competitive Speed Series, this is your final PC race for the year. But thank you very much for joining us for what has been an amazing 2024, and happy holidays to everybody. If you celebrate or not, have a lovely rest and have a lovely break. We'll see you in 2025 when PC CSS returns. But until then, bye-bye.
Welcome back to the Competitive Speed
The
Series.
absolute carnage on this final lap. 5 red lights here in Miami. Can they regain that place?
I cannot believe my eyes.
Who comes out on top? Down the inside into Casio Triangle. This could end in disaster.
Zach Miles taking the lead. It was an all-or-nothing approach for the TF10 team.
And this could be crucial for NBR.
A race to remember for Jeremy
And
Gallagher.
they are officially the champions of the season.
It does not get closer than that. What a race. What a